Well, hello, my sweet little boogaloo babies. Welcome to Mean Age Daydream with me, your bald and beautiful host, Brian McWilliams, here to welcome you to another adventure in trans discussions. But before I do, remember, you can buy Woke Word Wars, my hilarious game in which you can create your own trans scenarios in the woke apocalyptic future. You and your friends getting drunk, playing it in the hot, hot sun this summer. And don't forget, if you want to support our show, you can go to patreon.com/Lions of Liberty or lionsofliberty.locals.com. Okay, let's get into it. Now, unless you've been under a rock, you may have heard the name Sophie Cunningham. Now, Sophie Cunningham is in the WNBA and stands out as one of the very few very attractive women in the WNBA. And yes, like many women, she doesn't look as good when she's sweating and doesn't have makeup on and is playing on the court, but she's still very attractive. Empirically, she's tall, she's in shape, she's blonde, she's got nice bone structure. She's a good-looking broad. And as such, she has gotten quite a bit of attention, even I think appearing in Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition this year. And also quite a bit of attention going in and out of the games. You know, people get dolled up. Angel Reese gets all dolled up and then marches in there. Well, Sophie Cunningham also, to a lower extent, puts on her makeup, looks very fine and dandy. She also went very viral for several reasons. Number one, she protects Caitlin Clark, the superstar that the WNBA is intent on beating the living hell out of, on allowing to get fouled on a regular basis, and for some reason wants to bury their best and generational talent player, which is one of the reasons why people started watching the WNBA again. By the way, that since has dropped off except for Caitlin Clark games. And even in that realm, people are still so sick of the WNBA treating her so badly that they kind of checked out. But Sophie Cunningham plays a bit of an enforcer role in a way on the Indiana Fever, which is Caitlin Clark's team. She also famously was doing this pointing thing, which all the little girls in America that watch the WNBA, white, black, Hispanic, all love Sophie Cunningham doing this pointing thing on the court. There you go. There's your backstory. So Sophie Cunningham was interviewed and had an opportunity to speak her mind about men in women's sports, aka trans athletes, which hilariously right now, Alicia Liu, the American gold medal winning figure skater, has a little brother, who is trans and who is dominating California track and field events. I know, shocking, right? That a boy would be able to dominate track and field events against women. Meanwhile, his split times are worse than every other man in, doing high school sports in the country. This is always the way it works. Sophie Cunningham spoke out and said, this should not be an issue. And this is me, this is not verbatim. This is me ad hoc, kind of putting her quotes together here. But basically said, no, there's no place for men to be playing in biological women's sports. It's unfair. It shouldn't be happening. This is a statement that anybody with common sense knows to be true. It has been a statement which, by the way, has now been backed up by the Olympic Committee, by the World Powerlifting for Women, by, I think, Women's Cycling, even. All these different organizations have now come out and said, we're not allowing this anymore. It's too much of an advantage. We've seen how it plays out. We've seen the domination of men. I mean, you look at Leah Thompson, who now, by the way, has been stripped of all his/her titles in swimming because he dominated women's swimming despite being like the 400th fastest male swimmer. It's obvious. But Sophie Cunningham in this league, which of course is dominated by women of color who hate hot white girls and by lesbians who don't like straight hot white girls. Well, I mean, I'm sure they like them in certain aspects, but they have such a hatred for Caitlin Clark, for Sophie Cunningham, that now this has become a big deal. And to the point where all these female coaches, who are, by the way, one of which is white, comes out there and they got to make a big deal out of this statement. This very obvious statement, to the point where a rival coach, Cheryl Reeve, who was on the Minnesota Lynx. Now, the Minnesota Lynx played the Fever, and Cheryl Reeve decided it would be a great idea for her to wear a shirt that says, trans kids belong. Now, sure, real trans kids, you could argue, yes, if there's real trans kids out there, they belong. I would argue trans kids don't exist. Trans adults exist. trans kids are usually kids that have been misdiagnosed, that have been mistreated, that have been led down a path by either their guardians, by their doctors, by their teachers, God knows what else, by social pressures, and are not actually trans. Are there some people out there that are? Yes, there are. Is trans, in my opinion, a mental disorder? Yes, 100%. Is the best treatment for that disorder at times to have gender reassignment surgery when you're a consenting adult? Yes. However, she didn't even bring up trans kids. But these fucking liberal dickheads go back to this. Oh, the kids, think of the kids. The kids have nothing to do with this conversation. She's talking about biological men playing in sports and dominating women's competition. She's not talking about how trans kids have to be excluded from this and that, or they should be thrown into gulags. No. This is not protecting trans kids. So she wears this stupid shirt, Trans Kids Belong, when they play the Indiana Fever, specifically to make a point, right? She goes on and does afterwards, and it does interviews about it, making it into a big deal. And Sophie Cunningham correctly just did an interview, I think yesterday, pointing out the fact that the WNBA will talk about anything but basketball. Because it wasn't just her. There were other female coaches on other teams that also sat there and said, well, I just don't think it's right that you talk about this, right? Making it into an issue. You had the female coach of the Indiana Fever who could have taken an opportunity to defend her player and just say, well, she's entitled to her opinion. This is obviously a contentious issue. No. Instead of that, she goes, well, I don't think I have the scientific background to know the difference between a man and a woman. You don't have the scientific background? You don't have eyes? You don't have hundreds of thousands of years of evidence to back this up? You don't have the evidence in front of your face as far as what's going on? Why do you think the World Olympic Committee, why do you think all these international organizations have banned it? You idiot. But they make it into a big deal. Now, this is all backstory, just to get to the fact that something hilarious is on the verge of happening. Something that will be so fantastic to watch play out, which is that there is a French trans athlete, and of course, unlike many European nations which have woken up to the problems that exist when biological men play women, France has not yet come around to that. I guess they still have their, their croissants up their backsides. So there is a player named, let's see, I'm going to butcher this name, Julie Tétart, Julie Tétart, who averages 21 points and 20 rebounds a game. This player has been named the Player of the Year, the Defensive Player of the Year, and the Domestic Player of the Year. What a shock that a biological man who's 6'3", by the way, and ripped. I mean, I've seen pictures of this person, ripped, like muscular beyond any potential for any of these women to become. Just ripped. The only way you can become as muscular as this man, who is a transition into a woman, the only way you can become this muscular is if you're on roids and you're in one of those muscle bodybuilding competitions. That's the only way you see women that have this physique out anywhere in the world. But this guy is dominating in League 2 in France, scoring, rebounding, etc. the last season, and has said, I would love to play in the WNBA. So as I said in the title of this episode, they are now being, sorry, my voice is a little hoarse, by the way. I'm just beating a cold my damn kids gave me again. This is now putting the WNBA in a clear put up or shut up mode. You say that trans, you don't know the difference between men and women. You say, well, trans kids belong. You say trans people have a right to play in women's sports. Okay, then shut up and hire this person. Put them on one of your teams and see what happens. See how it plays out for you. This person, this Julie Tétart, will dominate your players. If high school basketball players and male basketball players can dominate your players, and we've seen those fun exhibition games where they have been dominated by high school boys, a 6'3" man who is ripped, shredded, will crush them. Now the funny thing is, and I tweeted this out, 20 points and 20 rebounds as a 6'3", and I'm 6'3", and I'm 46. Now, granted, I still got it. I'm still pretty ripped, you know. Kiss my muscles. I still got it going on. I'm pretty confident, and I'm pretty good at basketball. I am confident I could easily put up 20 points. I think I could actually put up better than 20 points in the WNBA. I've watched these people play. They are not good. I mean, they're fine. Good for women. They're not good to the standard a man who, even at 46, I can still jump higher. At 40, I can still dunk a basketball. I've not tried in the last few years because, risk reward on that. You know, do I want to go up there? And I was completely hammered. Side fun story about this. And then, also, I did say I would tell my funny Hollywood interaction story, which I will tell momentarily. When we talk about the Paramount merger and what's going on with that and how activist judges are completely screwing that situation up. Funny story about dunking. So my buddy Rico, who, of course, was on this podcast quite a long time and appearing on our Libertarians in Living Rooms Drinking Liquor episodes and on our bonus shows, who was on the first episode podcast with me. I flew to Cleveland. Odie was there, of course, our Monday host. He had come down from Pittsburgh. We're drinking. And I said, look, I'll bet you guys $100 I can still dunk a basketball at 40. And he's got a net in his front driveway. It is measured. We measured it. It is exactly the height of a NBA rim. I try a couple times, miss. But then I'm like, all right, we got a good run up here. Run up, slam it down. And I'm shit-faced. Slam it down. And I'm so amped up. I go, yeah, motherfuckers. Right as two old ladies are walking their dogs past his house. And you've never seen old ladies. They may have both crapped their pants. I hope they're wearing Depends because I scared the hell out of these women. I felt bad about it. I apologize profusely. But point being, slammed down at the age of 40. So I'm pretty damn sure I could still dominate the league being my age, my height, my build. This person, Julie Titard, would dominate the WNBA. And the WNBA explicitly says, and this is the irony too, in its own laws, in its own, this is the rules of the league. You have to be a woman in order to participate in the league. A woman. What's their definition of woman now? You don't have the biological background to tell? Well, I guess if none of you do, this person should be able to play. It's going to be funny to see. I don't think they'll allow it to happen because they know what the outcome will be. I hope. I really do. I'm waiting. Okay, so since I teased that story, damn, I forgot to bring water in here for my scratchy throat. So since I mentioned this Hollywood story and its interactions, I'll start off with this merger. So as many of you know, Warner Brothers and Paramount are set to merge. I did an entire episode talking about this, how ridiculous it is that there's opposition from the entertainment industry. Warner Brothers was a failing studio. They were going out of business because they kept creating content people didn't want to buy. Because of all this DEI bullshit, because of race swapping, because of woke messaging in all their films, just bad project selection, horrible leadership, tanking all of these people thought unsinkable properties, Superman and Batman also. So even with those tent poles, they were struggling. Paramount's like, okay, we'll buy you. That's good for the industry. That means creating jobs because Paramount is very successful. They choose right projects. They're making content people want to watch. So all these states got together and sued to stop the merger because state governments obviously have nothing better to do than to sue to stop this merger from going through, which is purely because it went under the Trump administration. If it was Biden, it wouldn't have happened. So, and I mean that by, it would have still gone through under Biden, but these people wouldn't have said anything. They wouldn't have said boo. So right now you have an activist judge weighing in on this Paramount situation who has put them in a position wherein you cannot have a trial on whether or not this is going to be legal or not, whether this will go forward or not, until March 12th of 2027. That means Paramount, because of the delay in this merger happening, Paramount's on the hook to pay something like $1.2 billion in fines because they have to pay the shareholders of WB because WB's in this, the nebulous area of like, do we move forward? Do we not move forward? They're kind of in a quandary, which, by the way, again, good job, states. Now you're getting in the way of these projects. They are now paying $1.2 billion because this leftist activist judge intentionally, and they haven't said intentionally, right? This guy's like, well, that's the date I set. This motherfucker knew what he was doing. Poisonous leftism in action. This fucker knew what he was doing. He knows he's delayed this trial intentionally to punish those he does not like. And that's paramount. And that's Trump. That's what this is about. And it's disgusting. Now, that's what I'm saying about that. Here's the story. I'll tell you. So I was doing public relations for Robert Evans. Robert Evans is a very, very famed longtime film producer. Did The Godfather, did Chinatown. They made a biopic about him called The Kid Stays in the Picture, which I highly recommend. He was an icon, old school Hollywood executive, took no shit, married around, slept around, drank, did drugs, all that stuff. But he was a hard ass who knew what good projects were. And his record of success, he did Love Story. His record of success is incomparable. Sadly, he died several years ago. But I represented him about 5 years, before he retired. I'm over at his house, which is this famous mansion in the Hollywood or in Beverly Hills. And I'm young. I'm young and it's a party. We're allowed to drink. The main part's over where the media was there. So we're allowed to hang out and cavort around all the celebrities. So I'm drinking. And first, one quick story. Went up to Craig Kilborn, challenged him to a knife fight. He didn't think it was funny. But the better story is that I'm walking through the kitchen, which was very small, oddly enough, for this mansion, connecting one side to another side. It's like a little triangle you could walk through. So I cut through to avoid the big crowd in the living room. And as I'm coming through the far doorway, Jack Nicholson is standing there. And I'm drunk and I'm just starstruck a little bit, right? I'm like, oh, hi. And he's standing there. He's Jack Nicholson. He expects me to get my nobody ass out of his fucking way so he can get through the kitchen. But I'm just kind of standing there like a doofus looking at him. And after a beat, he just goes, he has this, the Jack Nicholson smile on his face. And he steps back and he goes, "It's your world, boss." And I go, "Thanks, Jack." I walk straight through into the other room. So that's my Jack Nicholson story. Okay, moving on before my voice gives out of me here. So another thing I want to cover here, as we're talking about sports and celebrity, Aaron Rodgers. So Aaron Rodgers, very well known for speaking out about COVID, about refusing to get the vaccine, talking about the negative aspects of it. People love to say, oh, he's a kook. He's a conspiracy theorist. Maybe he is, but he was right about COVID, as were we all. He was right about the negative effects it has on athletes. He was right about all the side effects that we know were out there. And that's now been documented and confirmed with the release of the Fauci diaries, which essentially showcased that Fauci knew every single thing that we suspected and misled the public, flat out lied, got himself infected, got an embolism in his lungs, all the things, knew about the pregnancy effects, knew about that it wasn't effective in stopping the virus, knew that the infection rate was 0.02 to 0.03 and lied about it and told us it was 2% to 3%. Fauci's an animal. He's a monster. Aaron Rodgers goes on the Pat McAfee show and says, yeah, I was right about this. This was ridiculous. The entire coverage from the sports media was ridiculous. The media attacks on people like me was ridiculous. So a story just broke today that the people that work at ESPN, the executives and the hosts, oh, they're real mad. They're big time mad that Aaron Rodgers went on an ESPN program and talked about the truth and the fact that he was right and called out the bullshit sports media about it. And here's a quote. ESPN executives are extremely unhappy with Aaron Rodgers following his comments on the Pat McAfee show and are now weighing how they want to handle coverage of his highlights during the upcoming season. Think about that. Now we're seeing the media tap dance and do everything they can to deflect and protect Anthony Fauci, a man who should go down as a monster in the history of America. Why? Because all these people were taking part in demonizing everybody, like Aaron Rodgers, like Djokovic, like was it Kyrie Irving? All these media monsters took part in the demonization of people that were quote unquote anti-vax. They were part and parcel in spreading the lies. They didn't question it. They just went along with it. They held this man up as a hero. And now, because Aaron Rodgers has spoken out and is correct, ESPN, they're deciding, I don't know. We have to punish Aaron Rodgers because he was right. That's what it boils down to. There's such petulant children in this industry. There's such thin-shelled ego, doofuses that they have to go out of their way and say, how are we going to treat his highlights? What? Now, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I probably don't give a damn. He's retiring after the season. But still, you want to go out on a bang, don't you? If you throw a nice touchdown, you want that in the highlight reel. But ESPN's going to go, no, he said something nasty about us, about COVID, which he was right about. But he said something mean, and he was touting how we were wrong and he was right. So we better dock him. We better show different highlights. We're only going to show him getting sacked. Like, this is your standard, ESPN? And this is also shows the poisonous relationship between the NFL and ESPN now having co-ownership. That's completely screwed. And I'll give John Ziegler, who's been on the show several times and on Odie's show several times, I'll give John Ziegler a lot of credit because he's a longtime announcer, host, talks about sports, did great expose on how the Jerry Sandusky Penn State scandal was nonsense. He said, this is not correct because of exactly this thing. The way you cover and treat athletes is going to change based on this relationship. And now you're seeing it play out. But it's just pathetic. Because a man on an unrelated topic spoke out, you're going to alter how you show highlights, which the general population wants to see. The general population does not give a damn about Aaron Rodgers talking about COVID, 2 months before the season starts. They just want to see the game highlights. But these people are such egomaniacal assholes that they are going to punish him and punish you for watching. That's just unbelievable. Okay. Last story, and then I'll wrap this. Oh, no, two more quick stories. While we're on the films, I meant to put this in the Paramount section. Just a real quick point here. BMW owners were surprised when their luxury cars, right? BMWs are very expensive. When they turned them on, every car made after 2020 showed a trailer on the dashboard screen, right? That you use for your music and your guidance. On starting the car, automatically, didn't opt in for it, didn't ask for it, didn't ask if you want to see a trailer, automatically plays the new Spider-Man movie trailer. Now that's funny because BMW are morons. They just did irreparable damage to their brand by doing this, by basically showing people you cannot pay to have your privacy, right? And this is before the government's in your cars. But no one's talking about this aspect. But if a movie studio can pay to force you to watch an ad before your car is usable, what do you think would have happened during COVID? You don't think that the government is looking at it and going, oh, you know what? Why don't we force people to watch ads? Why don't we force people to buy our narrative? Why don't we force people into watching a message from the president on whatever bullshit propaganda they want to push, or Anthony Fauci, or God knows what else? You've got a captive audience. Your car is not going anywhere until you watch this ad. That is terrifying. Okay, last thing. I hate Gavin Newsom. He is talk about egomaniacal pieces of shit. He is a lying, lizard-skinned human being who has loudly touted the fact that California raised its minimum wage, right? Our minimum wage is double that of the federal minimum wage. And not only that, but also fast food minimum wage is $20 an hour. People on the East Coast, it now costs $60 to go get fast food for me and two kids and my wife. So we don't do it anymore. What used to be a fun excursion, we're like, okay, I'm starving, I'm on a road trip, let me pull over and grab a burger here. I don't need to pay $20 for a fast food burger because Johnny Dipshit over there working the fry-o-lator is getting paid so much money. The cost of everything rises accordingly. So what are people going to do? They're going to stop going there. Not only that, but it's going to create, just like Mom Donnie, food deserts, because restaurants will close, and restaurants have closed in California. There's a huge restaurant group that runs Carl's Jr.'s, Hardee's on the East Coast, that is pulling out of California completely because they have essentially made it impossible for them to operate. People are not going to go and spend $20 for a fast food hamburger, and that's what they forced it into. The margins are not big enough for these places to stay open. It's unbelievably stupid. And yet, despite the $36,000 in lost jobs, because they're replacing them with things like Flippy from Miso Robotics, they're replacing them with the order screens, the Beep Boop Bop machines, they're cutting down, they're automating. Obviously, predictable outcomes. Predictable outcomes. And this dumb asshole is out there crowing about it. It's not like he hasn't seen the reports. I know he has. But it goes to show you, these leftists, these progressive leftists, they will lie to your face. They'll tout things that are terrible. They're, all the home. Well, we're spending all this money on homeless. Homelessness goes up. We're spending all this money on education. We need more money. Spending the highest rate per child in the world right now in education. Education keeps going down in the gutter. They will tell you to your face that what they're doing is so great and it's working so well and we're doing all these things, and the outcomes are the outcomes. But yet, this dummy will tout them. He'll tout the initial response rather than the actual real world repercussions. And I just don't know if the voters in California and all these liberal voters out here don't know, don't care. I'm sure they just don't know, because liberal media won't report on this. They won't tell you this is why your food costs so much. All they'll tell you is that minimum wage went up for workers. Isn't that wonderful? It's just, shake my head at the stupidity in the world. All right, that's it for today's show, guys. Thank you for watching along. Remember, buy Woke Word Wars. If you want to support our program, again, patreon.com/Lions of Liberty. You get some morning rants from me about 3 days a week if you want that extra bonus content. And you can also go on Locals, lionsofliberty.locals.com. And please do hit subscribe, hit notify. We're still shadow banned on YouTube, so you will not see our content unless you're getting notified most of the time. And, kiss your mother for me. Tell her she's beautiful. All right, that's it, guys. From me, from the Lions of Liberty Network, and from Mean Age Daydream. Keep those electric eyes on me, babe. Keep that ray gun pew to my head. I'll talk to you later.